This week on the show.
Well, you definitely make me smile. Honestly, not just for this interview, but I was listening to your music. And first, when I wanted you on, I was like, oh, she's awesome. It's great music. And then I started listening to your music and I was like, this is my kind of music.
Yes, I love to hear it.
Life is messy, life is push and pull. Yeah, it's crazy and fucked up, but beautiful. Sometimes sexy, sometimes a lonely road.
Chloé Caroline.
I've always just been a creative person too. I don't know if it's like the left-handedness in me, you know, they say always lefties are super creative, but like I've always, you know, been into drawing and art and writing of all sorts. And music though was something that I just kind of gravitated towards.
It starts out magic, but nothing good happens after midnight. Few beers will cross that line.
Singer. Songwriter.
So like when I'm writing myself, it's different than when I'm writing with somebody else. So when I'm alone, you know, I'll sometimes it'll just be sitting down at the piano or the guitar, and then I don't even have an idea yet, you know, and it's just like a melody flows out and then I make up words along with it. Or sometimes I'll be like, you know, really intentional about like what I want to write about and sit there and start with like a lyric or something.
Her album Everywhere I Go is out now.
Yeah, no, so it's called Everywhere I Go, and it came out in May. And, it was quite the process, but I'm very, very proud of it. And so far, it's been great. And now we're on to the next pretty soon. So
you're working on something now, right?
Yeah. So I have new music. I've been working on new music for quite some time now, and you know, in February we're about to drop something new. So very excited.
That's awesome. Really
very,
awesome.
Very excited. It's really like I would say like the next like level of music. So
yeah. Are you excited about it? Yeah.
I'm like stoked. Like I'm trying to like you know,
I can see it.
But, like, I'm like really pumped.
I can see it. Yeah.
Let's talk to Chloé Caroline on the Very Creative Podcast.
Chloé Caroline, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Where are you right now?
I am on a bed. No, I'm in Los Angeles, California right now.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
How's life over there?
Kind of crazy. I mean, it's hard to complain because the weather's been insane. Like literally it was 80 degrees last weekend. But, you know, it's been 100% lockdown here since March. So it's like we haven't had any wiggle room or anything. So it's pretty nuts. But, you know, we got sunshine. So
It's weird because I see because here we're in full lockdown in Canada and Montreal. I'm in Montreal right now.
Oh, okay, cool.
And we're in full lockdown. Like there's a curfew and everything. It's kind of crazy. And then I see on Instagram, I look at people from the US and I see them in restaurants and I'm like, what is going on? Are they still in lockdown? What state?
Not in LA. Unfortunately, we can't do that either. So I feel you. Also, fun fact, I'm half Canadian. So
oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, my family's like all in Kingston, Ontario.
Oh my God. Yeah, I know Kingston. That's great.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Oh my God.
I know. I have dual.
Yeah. So you were born in LA, but
yeah. So I was born in LA. My mom is Canadian. She is dual now, but she was full Canadian and born there. And then my dad has dual, and I lived there when I was very young for a couple of years. We have a summer cottage I go to every summer. So the majority of my family is all in Canada.
That's crazy. So introduce yourself for everyone listening who don't know who you are or might know who you are, whatever.
Yeah. You know? Well, hey, I'm Chloé Caroline. I'm a singer-songwriter from Los Angeles, California.
Yeah.
And I make music and I write songs and try to make people smile.
Yeah. Well, you definitely make me smile. Honestly, not just for this interview, but I was listening to your music and like first when I wanted you on, I was like, oh, she's awesome. It's great music. And then I started listening to your music and I was like, this is everything. Like you mentioned even Harry Styles and Shawn Mendes. And I'm like, this is me. And then you did a cover for Taylor Swift. And I'm like, oh my God, this is my kind of music. Like,
yes, I love to hear it.
This is awesome. So I'm so glad you're doing this. So
gosh,
thank you.
Of course. Thank you for having me. And thank you for listening to my music and supporting.
Yeah. My favorite song is Messy. I keep listening to that song.
Yeah. That one's pretty real right now, I would say, right?
Can you talk a bit about it?
Messy was actually a really interesting one to write. I feel like typically it's not something I would naturally write and like just based off of like how the verses are, not necessarily like content wise, but just like it's almost like kind of like rappy, like talk singing. That's like, I don't know, which is really interesting for me. It was like a little bit stepping out of like my comfort zone and doing something different. And then when it came to what I wanted to talk about, I really, as much as I love to talk about love and relationships and like all, the ups and downs that go with that, I feel like there's so many different like topics that you can cover in music and so many like other real things. And I really wanted to get like a little taste of that in like a very storytelling way. And so, Messy kind of touches on drugs at some point. It talks about, like love and heartbreak and just going through just various tough times and in different stages in your life and, meeting different people that are struggling and as well and kind of like how it affects you and blah, blah, blah. Like there's just like a bunch of different things happening within the song and a bunch of different storylines kind of. And at the end of the day though, I really wanted to have something that was out there that really made everybody kind of take a step back and be like, okay, my life can be messy. My life can be rough, but like, you know what? Like, at least I'm still keeping on. Like I'm alive. Like, it's one day at a time, you just got to keep going. You got to keep moving forward. And I really wanted that to be the message. And, my whole thing with music is that I want people to never feel like alone. And like, that's kind of like my goal. It's like, I want people just to connect and to feel like they have somebody to relate to and that they're, everybody obviously goes through their own issues and problems, but at the end of the day, there is somebody out there that can at least level with you. Like there has to be, I know there is. And that's kind of what it's about for me. So
no, I have the lyrics here and I'm just going to share with people my favorite part. Life is messy. Life is push and pull. Yeah, it's crazy and fucked up, but beautiful. Sometimes sexy, sometimes a lonely road, but it's perfect until it's gone. Life is messy. Yeah. It's amazing. I love it. I was like listening this morning. I was like, did I hear that before? It's her. She really wrote that. I'm like, oh, wow. That's incredible.
Thank you. But it's it is so true. I feel like it is just a little bit of everything. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, it seems so obvious. Like, life is up and down. It's, it's this, it's blah, blah, blah. But I think we forget that and we sometimes easily kind of judge ourselves in our lives and we look at other people and we're like, well, why isn't my life like X, Y, and Z, when it's like, no, everybody has a little bit of everything going on in their life, It's great. Interesting.
I love confetti too. It's great.
My song, baby. I love it forever.
So go listen. What's your album called, by the way?
So my album's called Everywhere I Go.
Sorry, I can talk. I have a huge fanning out,
You're good. So it's called Everywhere I Go and it came out in May. And, it was quite the process. It was like a record that took like 2 years and I'd released like 5 singles before I eventually put out the full record, but I'm very, very proud of it. And so far it's been great. And now we're on to the next pretty soon. So
that's awesome. So you're working on something now, right?
Yeah. So I have new music. I've been working on new music for quite some time now. And, in February, we're about to drop something new. So very excited.
That's awesome. It's really awesome.
Very excited. It's really like, I would say like the next like level of music. So Yeah.
Are you excited about it? Yeah.
I'm like stoked. Like I'm trying to like,
Yeah, I can see it.
but, like, I'm like really pumped.
I can see it. Yeah.
And nervous, but like also,
I'm sure. Yeah.
because it's kind of like, I know that, people kind of have an idea of what your music is. And then, not that it's like a total, completely something different, but it is a little bit different. So it'll be interesting to see what people think.
That's really exciting. So let's go back to your past a little bit. Talking about growing up, how did you become this singer? And like, I know that your family is a little bit artistic. I read that your father is a filmmaker and a musician. I can't talk today. Sorry, everyone. I'm just the biggest fan. But yeah. So how did it all happen?
Yeah.
Nothing stays buried forever, especially not the past.
Yesterday is Not Yet Gone, a mystery novel by Gabriel Veiga, host of the Very Creative Podcast. Available now, paperback and digital. GabrielVeiga.com. Buy it now.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, yes, like you said, I grew up in a very musical household. My dad was always like singing songs and writing songs and, showing me different types of music from like all backgrounds on different genres and decades and blah, 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 and everything. And also I've done that like 50 times today, like said, blah, blah, blah. I don't know why. Anyways. Yeah, but
do it to warm up.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I was just always surrounded by different types of music. My grandfather was also a singer.
Wow.
And I've always just been a creative person too. I don't know if it's like the left-handedness in me, they say always lefties are super creative, but like I've always, been into drawing and art and writing of all sorts. And music though was something that I just kind of gravitated towards, even from like a very young age. I don't know. I just felt like a pull to it, like songs that you wouldn't think a like 4-year-old would resonate with would like very much like affect me. And whether it was the lyric or the melody, like whatever, like I would get like very like emotionally, I would get very emotional, and I would understand it somehow, even though I'd never been through that stuff before, whatever. And then when it came to writing, like I was starting to write melodies when I was 6. I had taken piano lessons and just kind of would sit down and start like humming melodies, and I would, make up songs to make my sister laugh. And just like, I just loved music so much. And I wasn't the kid who, and I always say this in like every interview, but it's just true. Like I wasn't the kid who was like doing state fairs and like singing like, cover songs at pageants and whatever. Like that wasn't like my thing. Like I did the talent show like once a year, and I, was in choir, but like I was basically just like always singing like in my house. And I feel like that's kind of where this like songwriter thing began, because like I wasn't just like out there singing other people's songs. Not that there's anything wrong with that, and that's incredible, but like for me it was like I loved just like making up melodies and then singing them. Like I loved it so much. And then when I got into writing, like really writing like lyrics and poetry and stories, like I just fell in love with kind of how, you could combine those two things and really affect people with it.
I mean, you also said that you were in a house that, like I read this, that you were in a house full of music, and that your parents made you listen to Stevie Nicks and 100%. Other artists. So I feel like that helped, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I became like, I mean, I'm so grateful that I was shown so many different types of music as a kid. And then I'm also really glad that, I took it upon myself in some ways to like discover even more. Like I remember when I was like 11, 11, 12, 13, whatever, like would go on YouTube and like find other art. Like I would literally search like singer songwriter, like a song that I wrote, original song, and like see like what would pop up. And there's all these other people like my age or a little bit older that were like posting like their original music. And I didn't know anybody else that did that at the time besides myself. So I would like, that's how I would discover new artists, was like through like literally searching like me singing original song. And like, I'd find all these like random artists and bands. And like, I was obsessed. Like, honestly, I really was, with like just finding different types of music. Yeah.
That's really interesting, because I was the same way. Like, I'm a writer, I'm a filmmaker, actor, and it's like, if you're not obsessed with it, like I was obsessed with it. I was obsessed with looking at Alfred Hitchcock and looking at other like filmmakers that I appreciated, actors, and you got to invest yourself in it. And
into different types of, you know, like we were saying before, different genres, like different like guys, girls, like different, you know, it just like different types of music is so important. You know, obviously, like we all have like, you know, some of our favorite things or favorite artists, whatever, but like I do think it's really important, especially for like other, you know, aspiring artists or singer-songwriters out there, whatever, like to really try to like immerse yourself in like different types of music, because you never know like how they're gonna like affect your own writing and like make you branch out and like think differently. And there's just, I don't know, I feel like it's really easy for people to be like, pick a lane, which like in some regard, like I totally get, but like
that's so lame though.
You don't like you don't, I don't know, like everything, like you are a melting pot, like as a person, like that's what makes your sound like original. So I don't know, you don't only have to listen to pop to create pop music or country to make music, like whatever.
I mean, it's the same with movies, the same with music. Like, you don't have to listen to everything that everyone is listening to. And they're like, some people are like, sometimes, when they get to know me, what's your favorite music? And I tell them, I like classic rock. I like oldies. I like, 80s music. And they're like, I listen to rap and I listen to I just like that, that's it. And that works for me. And I love that. And I don't care if you don't like Taylor Swift either,
That's exactly. That's like the most beautiful part about music, is like the diversity and like the universalness of it, is that like we all like different things, but yet like we find common ground within it at the same time,
Yeah. So when did you decide like you wanted to be a singer after all that?
Yeah, I feel like when I was in third grade, like my teacher was like, what do you want to be? And like, I drew a picture of Britney Spears. So like, I think like I kind of knew, but then it didn't really like, I don't know, resonate, I guess, until high school, when I had, recorded some little demos, and my friends had heard them, and I started like posting videos on Facebook of me singing, and I'd go to school and my friends would be like, oh my gosh, like I really loved your song, and like blah blah blah, I related to it. And that's kind of when I was like, oh, okay, like I didn't think I was bad at it, but you know what I mean? Like you're really like, at first I was doing it for myself, to be honest. It was therapeutic for me to write about things I was experiencing. And then when other people started getting affected by it, like that was such like a really incredible thing for me, that I was like, okay, like, well, sure, let's just like run with it. And I just loved it so much. I couldn't imagine not doing it. And, of course, like there was like thoughts in my head that were like, okay, well, like maybe I'll be a doctor, because I'm like fascinated by the human body and like things like that. Like that's cool. But then I remember thinking, like when I was, applying for college and whatnot, I was like, I'm going to regret this for like the rest of my life if I don't just go for it, like if I don't, I'm going to always wonder, like, what if, so yeah, I had to do it. And I'm just like, I'm not somebody who, once again, like no offense to anybody who can be in an office and be like really like, like I can't do that. Like, I don't know if you can tell just like by my personality, but like I need to just be like free and like do my, be able to like kind of control my own schedule a bit and like get to be creative. And there's so much business too that I know now and have to do and wear all the different hats, but it's still like me being my own boss at the end of the day. And like music allows me to do that. I suppose.
Yeah.
As hard as it is. It does.
So, being in California, did you think, oh, now I have an advantage that I'm also like in California, or did it like discourage you because there's so many people who want to do the same thing as you in your age group, and like who want to be famous also?
Right.
How did that feel to you?
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, so like I said, obviously grew up in Los Angeles, but I didn't know anybody at the time who, was an artist like me. And then I graduated high school and I decided that I wanted to move to Nashville because when I got into Belmont University and I wanted to study music business, and it was really important for me. I really wanted to graduate school. Like as much as like I wanted to just like go and be an artist, like for something in me like did want to have like a college degree or, a university degree and like an experience. And I don't know, I just like wanted to do that. And I felt like I needed to branch out beyond like my little beach bubble town. And
that's great.
I knew that if I went to Belmont and Nashville, like I would be around a ton of other kids in a small confined space that did what I wanted to do. And I knew that it would challenge me and I knew it would make me more independent. And I didn't know, at the time, like who I was as an artist, obviously, like once again, it was just like singing songs I wrote in my bedroom. So I really wanted to like push myself to grow. And so I moved to Nashville and, went to school and I, began to kind of find myself within college and within like trying a bunch of different things, like I was involved, I had a job, I literally like gave tours at the Musicians Hall of Fame. Like I did that. I worked at a publishing company and a label and interned there. I, at the same time as like, after, my classes, I was writing and co-writing and mingling with people and playing, little writers rounds and shows and just like, connecting with people. And through that whole experience was able to, dive into like the next level of myself and figure out what I wanted my music to sound like and who I wanted to be. And just like, obviously like being 18 years old, you're still so young and like naive. There's so much to learn. So Nashville kind of really gave me like this like stomping ground to be able to do that. And then, all the while throughout college, I would go home and I'd go back to LA and I would still connect with people here. And I began to work with people in both places. And then when I graduated, I kind of, I stayed there for a little bit longer and then I made the decision that I hadn't had the opportunity yet to live in LA as like an adult, as a now like an artist with like some, with her boots on the ground, like, like I had built up something of myself a little bit, I felt, and I felt like I was ready to be in an environment that was so much bigger than Nashville. Because I think that if I would have gone just like straight out of high school and like, I think I would have gotten lost. I don't know. I don't think I would have been ready to take on what, like, I don't know. I don't think I would have known myself enough to be able to like handle what I do now, if that makes any sense, like I think like now I know how to connect with people. I know, I just like know myself well enough to be able to do it. And LA is such a big place. You can easily get like swallowed up. And so I'm very, very grateful to have been in such like a competitive environment, like Nashville, like in such like a condensed place with music, to be like literally like that's all you do, that's all I did. It was just music 24/7. So then by the time you get to LA, it's like, okay, now I feel like I've got that base there. I'm still going to go back and forth and I always will. But now I can like apply that to LA and then also continue to like grow as a person as well. And that's what I really love about California is like, there is this beautiful, like music industry part of things and entertainment industry. And you have that, but you also have like this separate thing where I can kind of, I feel like fill myself up in other ways too, which helps me become a better artist. And so, that was a really like long-winded way to say that.
No,
but
I love it.
I'm very lucky that I get to go back and forth. I mean, they're both my homes and yeah, I plan on continuing to to do that.
No, I think it's great that you did that. I think it was worth it for you, and it did you good. I think.
Yeah,
just not stick to LA and see other things and be able to socialize with other people.
Yeah.
Also, I think Nashville probably helped your style, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think it also helped me become confident so that I wasn't, I mean, obviously everybody compares themselves to other people, of course. Yeah. But at the same time, I think it helped because I was like around so many other people. I mean, all of my friends there, you know, are writers and producers and artists. And so you really learn how to still like focus on yourself. I mean, you have to, that's all you can do. Like if you sit there and like look around you, you're going to be like so intimidated by everybody. You can't do that if you want to get anywhere. So like, I just had to like continue to focus on myself at the same time as like being able to work with the people around me and connect with them. And then also like lift them up and root for them. And that's the coolest part about it. And instead of being, I mean, I'm not like naturally a competitive person anyways. Like I do not do well with that. Like I just don't care enough to like be like, ooh, like square off with you. Like it's like not how I think. But I can see how that would definitely like get in the way of somebody's like success if they're like constantly like looking around their shoulder, you know. But for me, it's always been about like, I don't care if I'm the coolest thing there. I don't care if I'm the coolest thing in LA. Like for me, it's about the music and it's about getting it out to as many people as possible. Yeah. And so like, that's not about like being like the hottest shit in Nashville. That's about like being, you know, your truest self. And then that resonating with people all around the world. And then, you know, you're going to have the people in Nashville and LA, New York, whatever, that are going to be like, wow, she's great, you know, whatever. But that's because, in Canada, like wherever you are, like in those places where like, you know, it's really easy to like be in an industry town and like be like, oh my gosh, like, you know, I'm not the hot pick of the week, or like I am the hot pick of the week. But honestly, like as cool as that is, if you're not like focused on the right parts of like why you're doing something, then it really does not matter because that's not what it's about. And so I just tried to like I really had to learn how to just like look inside myself and remember like why I'm doing this and constantly remind myself. And I still have to, because it's so hard and it's so competitive and it's like so easy to like sit there and like be like, why aren't I here yet? You know, why hasn't it happened in this way? Or, you know, how come this person got a new Music Friday? Like, I mean, my song's just as good. Like what? Like, I don't understand. Like I have a bigger following, like whatever it is, like, and really like get down on yourself. And then I've got to like sit back and be like, okay, that's not, at the end of the day, that's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this so I can like have a conversation with you who like, you know, found me on social media and like we connected because you liked my music and it, you know, resonated with you. Like that's why I'm doing it. If there's like more success that comes along with it, heck yeah. But the only way I'm going to get there is if I continue to do things like this. So that's just kind of like,
that's for sure. Yeah, I think that's wonderful. And you know, so many people, especially, I'm going to go to LA, and they get caught up in the fame of it. And I'm going to get verified. I'm going to be an influencer or whatever, you know, and it should be about art. If you're really there for the art, it should be about art. If not, I guess it's a good thing then, because LA really shows your true colors. Are you there for the right thing, or are you not? You know?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, and of course, like you can't turn like a blind eye and be like, oh, none of this other stuff's important, because obviously it is, to get to like a certain point. Like, you know, if you're just like being an artist, you want to play in coffee shops for fun and like that's your thing, that's cool. You know, totally respect that. But like if there's like a bigger vision for where you see a career, obviously there are other things that you need to focus on too, other parts of it. But at the end of the day, I still think it like begins and ends with like who you are as a person and your intention and your music and your why behind all of that. Because if that's not there to begin with, it does not matter that you're like going viral on TikTok, because that'll just be very short-lived. Like, you know, rather than like the person who like is, you know, a very intentional artist, they make music that really resonates with people and then they end up going viral well, that's great, because now they've got this other stuff in their back pocket that's going to take them farther. It's just, it all goes hand in hand, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah. Don't you feel you're a better musician and better singer, like you write better all over because you know yourself, you know what you do, you're passionate about your art. Do you feel that? Do you feel that it helps you?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, for me, like, I just get more encouraged the harder that like I have to work, or the more that like I don't know. I feel like it's forced me every time like a door closes or an opportunity doesn't actually happen or whatever, along with when there are little wins, like that motivates me, of course, as well. But anyways, like it has made me, it has challenged me to be better, because it's forced me just to really be like, do I want this? Like, how much do I want this? But at the end of the day, I always find myself like, well, what am I doing? Like, even just like for fun. Well, I'm singing and I'm writing, like I'm still doing it. I would still do it, like regardless if I made any money or like had any fame, like, so that's like what I should be doing, like I love it that much. And like, it's just, it's really forced me to just continue to get better and better and better. And it can get very frustrating too, because the better and better that you find yourself getting, then you're like, well, now, okay, now why, where's the recognition? Or like, like, you're like, okay, come on. Like, it's not fair. Like, it hasn't happened yet or whatever.
No, I think you're going to do great things in this world. I think you're really, you seem like you know yourself, and you seem, passion is one thing, but you seem like a hard worker who really wants it. And, it's like I said, passion is one thing, but if you don't work hard at it, and if you are partying all the time, if you're drinking and doing drugs, whatever it is, life is a painful thing that's going to catch you.
It's about grit, like I think there's like a book my dad always talks about that's called like Talent is Never Enough. And it's so true. Like, it's not like you could be like the most talented person in the world. But if you're not willing to like put in the work behind it and, focus on all of the other aspects too, then I don't know. Yeah.
So talk about your music a little bit. Talk about your style and what I don't like labels, but what do you consider yourself as? And
Nothing stays buried forever, especially not the past.
Yesterday is Not Yet Gone, a mystery novel by Gabriel Veiga, host of the Very Creative Podcast. Available now, paperback and digital. GabrielVeiga.com. Buy it now.
I can't forget you. I thought you'd fade away like the sunset going down the coast. But I still miss you. I miss you every day. And I wonder if you even
I don't like labels, but what do you consider yourself as? And
so I call my sound like a new Southern California sound. And I do that because I feel like, back to like kind of like when we were talking about California and it just being like this melting pot, I was influenced by so many of the different artists and like genres and, time periods that, that have really been so important in the music industry. And a lot of those started in California, whether it be, Stevie Nicks, Eagles, like there's just like so much great music that has like started here. And I feel like my sound is kind of this melting pot of pop and a little bit of like folk and a little bit of like even like rock. And that sounds confusing, but I feel like it's just got this realness to it. And so like the artists that I grew up, that I really loved, whether once again, Fleetwood Mac, like Stevie Nicks, like she's like my hero, and same with like Dolly Parton's incredible too. But then, Shania Twain, Michelle Branch, like Avril Lavigne, huge influences. All of them really had this realness to their music. They had this like storytelling, and they also had these other influences as well. They had some soul, they had some rock, they had some of those like pop melodies at the same time. And like, it was this beautiful like combination that somehow I feel like really ended up resonating with a lot of different types of people. And that's kind of just like what I grew up listening to, as we spoke about before. And so that's kind of what I do naturally when I write. You know, I feel like I write melodies that are very pop, but my lyrics have this like storytelling aspect to it. And then when it comes to like the production of it, I love combining like this like old school thing, like paying homage to these artists that I love from the 70s and the 80s, 90s, whatever. It's kind of like, I feel like a melting pot of all those mixed with like present day, and kind of you have like this fun little cool twist on things. And from like a dude's point of view, like Harry Styles does that very well. And that's why like I always bring him up, because he kind of has similar influence as me, and has this kind of realness to it, but also it's very current, and has this like, you know, old school thing, but it's very current. And I don't know, it's just this fun combo. And so mine definitely has that, and has these like, you know, this California thing about it, this like West Coast. I think at the end of the day, it's got this like little, like if you could wrap it around with like a bow, I want people to be able to like drive down like PCH or wherever they're driving, you know, with like the wind, or making them feel like they are. And either like be like smiling because it feels so good, or like crying because it makes them like feel something in a different way, you know, like that's kind of like what it is. And like for me, like California like is so freeing, and that's what my music is. You know, I want it to like free people and to make them feel connected.
Yeah, I think what you said also about different genres, pop, folk, like your music is always going to evolve. No matter what, you know, you're not going to be at the same point in your life when you write a different album or another song, you know, and Taylor Swift is a great example right now.
And she's done it so incredibly like over and over and over, and reinvented herself over and over and over. Same with like even Maroon 5, like they've done a great job of that too. Like that's, you know, like it's so important to be able to do that, yet still stay true to who you are. Once again, going back to like, do you know yourself? And obviously we're always like trying to know ourselves better, but you know,
also staying fresh while doing that.
Fresh. Yeah, exactly. It's super important. I mean, you have to.
You're always doing the same music. You're like, oh, it's the same thing.
Yeah. And I think it just comes down to being intentional. You know, I think there's so much music. Obviously, there's so many artists out there. There's so every day, you know, millions of songs are being like added to Spotify. But for me, like, I really try like from like top to bottom to like be very intentional with like everything in my music, like, you know, beyond like obviously the lyric, obviously the melody, but like the production too. And like, why did we decide to use like these drums, and why did we decide to use this bass line? Like everything is there for a reason. It's not just like thrown in there for no reason. And I'm not saying like overthinking it, but like for me, I think why like artists from the past had such success and why their music is so timeless is because it wasn't like just trashily thrown in there, you know, like there was, you know, like there was this like reason behind it. I don't know. It had something that held up because it was done well, I think is what it is. You know, it wasn't just like thrown in there. And so, yeah, I don't know. I want to make music that you can listen to and like, you know, years from now, whether even like 10 years from now, and be like, okay, like this is still dope, you know?
Yeah. So talk a little bit about your writing process. How does that go on? Because I'm a writer, so I want to find.
That's cool. Honestly, I feel like it's like different. A lot of times it depends. So I still write by myself too. So like when I'm writing by myself, it's different than when I'm writing with somebody else. So when I'm alone, you know, I'll sometimes like just like it'll just be sitting down at the piano or the guitar, and then I don't even have an idea yet, you know, and it's just like a melody flows out and then I make up words along with it. Or sometimes I'll be like, you know, really intentional about like what I want to write about and sit there and start with like a lyric or something and go from there. I think when I want to say like when I'm writing by myself, oftentimes will literally go from like verse, pre-chorus, like it'll be very like continuous as the song will evolve.
Structured, yeah.
As I'm going.
Yeah.
Where it's like when I'm writing with somebody else, sometimes we'll start with the chorus. A lot of times we'll start with the chorus and then work backwards.
Do you find it difficult working with somebody else? Sometimes?
No, I love it. I love both. I'm really, really glad that I started writing alone first, because I feel like that made me a very strong writer, both lyrically and melodically. Yeah. And I'm glad that I still do it, because for like a little bit, I, maybe the last couple of years before I moved here, I felt like I was writing with other people so much that you start to, one, you don't take the time to write by yourself anymore. And then you start to second guess yourself because you're so used to having somebody else there.
Interesting.
So now I'm actually really grateful for like, this whole year, because it's really forced me to like be alone and trust myself again and just like let things flow. And so that's, obviously affected me with other people as well, because I feel like now I have even more to contribute. Because I have like just stuff that like I started alone and never finished or whatever, you know what I mean? Like things like that. And also just like being a lot more confident in my choices because I've just been writing alone again. But I love writing with other people. I write with producers. I write with just other, songwriters as well. And all, different types of things for other people too. But for myself, it's just so much fun to be able to really just like have therapy sessions with your friends. It's really what it is. It's like there are these therapy sessions that you get to have, and you get to have so much fun getting to combine all of your different strengths, and everybody and every song's different. I feel like as the artist in the room, I do feel like a lot of times I am taking on like a bulk of the weight, because it's my song. It's something that like I want to make sure, like, do I really feel what we're writing about? Is this what I want to say? Is this something I would say? Like, is this like something I would play? Is this a part that I like? Is this the track that I would like? Like, so I definitely like have a huge role, and definitely like, take over in that regard in some ways. But then I have other writers in the room that really like balance it out. And if I'm overthinking something, they're, able to be like, hey, you're really overthinking this. Like, let's pull back here, I don't know. So it's fun to be able to like play off of other people. And then, obviously there are other people that are way better musicians than I am. Like, I play guitar and piano, but I'm like no savant when it comes to that. And there are other people that can, slay. And so it's great to be able to like, they can hear things maybe that I don't. And then, I don't know. And on the opposite end of that, sometimes I'm very grateful that I'm not a savant like piano or guitar, because then I can think like I don't have to overthink sometimes, because sometimes they overthink. So it's really interesting how like the dynamics works. But
that's interesting. Yeah. I feel like it's got to be like people that you really trust and that you really respect, because it's hard working with people. It's hard, especially as a writer. For me, I speak for myself. It's I'd rather do it myself. Yeah.
I mean, it's just very vulnerable. I remember at first, because I had only written by myself for so long, I hadn't started co-writing with other people till I was 18. When I had started college. And it's really scary because you've never had to be like, oh, like, like this is an idea that I came up with, and like, oh, I hope you like it. Or like, this is like a weird melody that I sang into my phone when I was half asleep. Like, I'm going to share it with the class now. Like, it's like, it can be really weird, but I think it really forces you to like, just really dismiss your ego one, and just become like even more open, like as a person. And you just like, you never know what you're going to get out of a writing session. Like, and that's the coolest part. And it's also like a double-edged sword too, because I feel like there are just so many songs that that are meant to be, that you want to be written, that like haven't been yet. And you're like, oh man, like, we didn't write this time, but like maybe next time. Or you're like, oh man, I can't release them all. It gets overwhelming. That's what I find, like as like a creative. If anything, it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm writing so much. Like I want everybody to hear everything. I don't want to like forget about a song.
Yeah.
Or, like, you know, like that's kind of how you think. But
no, I get it. Yeah. It's like because I just released a novel in May and I was like, oh, I want to write another one. And then, but I have this story and I have this story and when I'm 90, hopefully I get there.
Yeah.
And, will I be able to tell all the stories? Probably not. You know?
Yeah, no, I know it. That's the thing. And you just
have
like
to aim for that.
Yeah. I mean, you just never know. It's like I remember like the last time I was in Nashville, I was supposed to fly back. And I ended up extending my stay like 3 days or something. And the day that I was supposed to leave, I ended up having a writing session and, you know, throwing out a bunch of ideas and then randomly just like saying this title and this concept. And we ended up writing like one of the best songs I feel like I've written in a very, very long time. I'm just so excited about it. And I'm like, wow, if I would have gotten on that plane, would that song have been written? Like, I don't know, like maybe, but like, you know, and you're like, gosh, wow. So yeah, it's so much fun though. At the end of the day, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I get to write songs with people. Like that's just so cool.
You get to do what you love. And that's amazing.
And there's so many more songs to be written. And
it's
so crazy how like, I don't know how many, like, it's like, you know, obviously there are only like so many notes and stuff, but somehow like they all, like you can write like a million songs from those notes, you know, like that's the craziest part about music to me is like, it just, wow, it's mind blowing.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So talk a bit about doing music video. How do you feel about like when you're being filmed and doing your music? Is that a different experience for you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay guys, I'm packing the car because we're about to go shoot something awesome. Are you ready?
You guys.
I wanted it to be like a little bit more artistic, so we used Jackson Pollock's like painting and how he threw the paint at the, you know, he was kind of like a bad boy himself, but how he painted as kind of like a replacement for confetti at first. We ended up using it anyways, but that was kind of where we got the idea, all these colors and this messiness that kind of grows as the video goes on, and you see this like flashback to this relationship, and then it kind of just like progressing into this like almost like a dance like thing. It's, I mean, I love it. It's so much fun. I think I like I turn on like a different, like I go into like a different mode when like the camera is on. Obviously, like same with like when you go on stage, it's like you're like on, you know. And so yeah, it's I don't know, it's something that you obviously get more comfortable with the more you do it. Everything that I've done has been totally DIY. Like that's just how it's been, like being an independent artist right now. And so that's been like, you know, it's a lot of work and a lot of like, I mean, it's not necessarily like a pretty experience. You know, you don't have like a million people doing your hair at the same time. And like, you know what I mean? Like you would think, yet you have to like get this like quality music video out of it. So it's like a lot of like moving parts, and you just like try a bunch of different things. And, you know, I mean, some of my music videos, like one of my first music videos ever was shot in like literally like maybe 30 minutes, if that, because the sun was going down so fast. So it's like, you're like forced to just like do it. Like, you know, it's, I don't know, you do a bunch of different things. The music video I'm about to put out, I had a photo shoot for, and I got to use the snake for it. And
oh my God,
it's so funny because normally I'd be like, I don't know, like a snake, like what? But like the second that the camera is on and the snake is on, it's like, I didn't even think twice. Like I just go into like a totally different mode. But it's really fun to watch your music come to life, like in like a picture form, you know what I mean? Like in a visual. And I love that. I've always loved like, you know, writing for film and TV, like that sort of that side of things, soundtracks, like, and how like a song can make like a movie or a TV show like come to life. So when it's my own music video, like it's so fun to like sit there and like brainstorm ideas. And I feel like I'm I'm pretty good at that. I wish that I, was able to like have the, I don't know what the word would be, I guess, but like maybe like the tenacity to like actually like learn how to like sit there and like do everything. But I just like, I can't. I've tried, like, I feel like I'd be like a good editor. But at the same time, like I would drive myself insane. So I really respect like everybody that, I've worked with and hopefully will work with and everything. But it's probably the most fun part because you want to make a music video for like every one of your songs, and you like, I mean, I guess no one's to say you can't, but it's just like, it's only so much energy.
No, it's interesting what you said about wanting to be an editor or like something sometime, because I feel myself, I'm a perfectionist when it comes to my art, and like I would want to control everything. And does that frustrate you sometimes because it's your music, it's your stuff, and you can't do everything? You're also in front of the camera. What's that like? Yeah,
well, you just like, I think that's why it's so important to like work with people, make sure you're on the same page with like the people that you're working with, and then also feel like you're a part of it. Like for me, like I really want to be a part of everything that I can be. Obviously, I don't, like I said, like I'm not an editor, I'm not a videographer, so like they know better than I do, and I've got to trust that they're gonna do their job. But like, when we're sitting there and we're brainstorming ideas, like we're, going back and forth, what's realistic, like what can we pull off, like what's cool to do. And then when we're editing, like I think it's interesting because I am such like a visual person. I, in a perfect world, want to sit there and like watch everything that they're doing and like, like try different things out and blah, blah, blah. So I totally get that. And like, I try to do that and like really be a part of it. But, they just like my job is to like write the songs and like make music and blah, blah, blah. Like I got to trust that like I'm working with them for a reason, that they're going to like totally get my vision, but you got to communicate. That's the thing. Like you've got to be like unafraid to communicate what you want. And because they don't know what you want. Like, that's the thing. It's like, I feel like a lot of people get confused, and like, it's easy to just be like, okay, well, here's the song. And even like with production and stuff, be like, hey, do something with it. Like they don't know unless you tell them, like, and or you can come up with it together for sure. But like, I think the biggest like misconception is like being like just handing something off and not giving somebody any direction and just expecting them to like know what to do, like that's, I don't know. You can't do that, which is why, once again, it's really important to like figure out like what you want.
And you said you love doing music for film and TV. I saw you did the Hallmark movie and something else, right?
Another
Talk a bit about that.
The first movie that I had ever written music for was a Lionsgate movie called The Great Gilly Hopkins.
Okay.
Kathy Bates in it, and it's a cute little story. Awesome. And that was kind of, like random. I was given the opportunity to write a song, and I like just wrote a little thing on my guitar and had a little voice memo from my phone and like sent it in, and they actually ended up like really liking it and ended up wanting to like make it this like sort of pop thing. So we ended up like doing that, and that was so cool. It ended up being the end title for the movie, which was crazy. I mean, I was like still like in college, like what? It was crazy. And we shot a little music video for it, and had some of the movie like clipped into it, which was really cool. And then for the Hallmark movie, that was like 2 years ago now, and completely also random. Like they had seen one of my music videos, I think on Disney Channel or something, and
sorry for the siren.
Oops. Anyways, I had sent in some music, and they liked the songs. They thought they were cool, and this was like music that like from my first little EP I'd done, right when I was like 18 or something like that. And I thought they'd never see the light of day again, but it really worked for like what they were wanting. And which is also the coolest thing, because you never know when like a song's going to come back around. And they ended up using like 6 seven songs of mine. And
crazy.
then they were like, hey, do you want to like audition for a role? And I was like, what? Like, and I had never acted before in my life. And I was like, okay. And like, just like submitted it. And then the next week, like I was like, you know, I was in Canada shooting and like, so it's crazy.
A lot of those movies shoot in Canada. I've auditioned for one.
Yeah, they do. And I'm Canadian, so that definitely like helped.
Yeah, that helped.
Yeah.
They wanted to hire you as a Canadian.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's what happened. No, but yeah, it was such like a rewarding experience and got me into acting and like doing acting stuff here in LA too. But getting to combine music and film is just like the coolest thing. I love it. Being like such a visual person, like getting to see it come to life is like, I love it.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, you're doing a lot of great stuff.
Thank you.
That's so awesome. So before we end and go to our game, how do you deal with anxiety? Because we talked about writing. So I'm kind of guessing that the writing with other people like helps with your anxiety sometimes. How do you deal with it?
Yeah.
Because this industry can be like tough also.
It's very tough. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So for me, like, through music, as much as like it can give me anxiety and not being where I would like to be yet, maybe, you know, is tough. I think at the same time, like when I get to have a session or write a song and by myself even, or just be singing and I feel like good when I'm doing that. I'm like reminded why I'm doing this. And it definitely brings me just so much joy and definitely relieves like that anxiety. And it, for me, like I said, it's always been therapy for me. It's how I like release like the hard stuff that I'm going through, and the good stuff too, but especially like the tough stuff. It's like where I get to like put it out there and then kind of like live with it and then move on, you know? I don't know, like that's just what I love about it so much. But then on top of that, for me, I really turn to other things as well, because I have learned that if I just focus 100% on music, with being my life, like 24/7, like I am part of the reason I wanted to, you know, come and spend more time in LA, was because I was really burning myself out. Like it was just like, that's all I did, like 24/7. And that's great and all, but I wasn't filling myself up with other things at the same time. Like I was trying to, but it was just like, I felt like I wasn't really living my life. Like, yes, I was like going to the gym and blah, blah, blah. And I had friends, but like, I wasn't really like living. And I was like, why am I writing about stuff that like I went through when I was like 17? Like I need to live, you know, like I need to live. And so for me, like I really turned to exercise, walking, like going and meeting people that have nothing to do with the industry and talking to them and becoming friends with them and like just like doing these other life experiences, because they've made my music that much better. Because if you're not out there living, if I'm not filling up other parts of me, like I can't just be fulfilled by one thing. None of us can, you know, like there's so many other you know, aspects to our life that affect us, and you can't ignore those, whether that's, you know, love or family or friends, like just like other hobbies. I mean, sitting there and like, you know, recently, especially like just taking time to like draw. Like I'm not like, once again, like I'm not like a savant artist, but like I love to draw. I'm not bad, but like, you know, like I love it. And
that's great.
But just to like really like feed like that like inner child and like just take the time to like be in the present moment, I think has been really like great for me as just like a human, and becoming even more like in tune with myself, because obviously the more I am, the better artist I'm going to be. So that's kind of how I do it, is I really just try to I don't know, feed those other parts of myself too, with other things that bring me joy.
Yeah. Do you feel like COVID has stopped you a little from living?
Honestly, I think, well, in the most like like logical
social
sense,
life,
yes. in some ways, but in other ways, I feel like I've like kind of been living in the present like more than I ever have, because I've been forced to really like slow down and just be like, this is it, like one day at a time. You know what I mean? Like do it. Like, I mean, this summer it's like I went just like camping and I went here with friends, you know, like I just like did things. I won't, you know, I went on this hike every day. I like went on a walk by myself. Like I took time to just like try different recipes. I took time to write alone.
That's great.
You know, like draw once again, like things that like I hadn't like sat and like done in like a very long time, because I felt like I couldn't just like sit there. You know, I feel like I am the type of person who like feels like I always have to be doing something. Like I can't just chill. But I've learned that like you can still be doing something, or you can still be like chilling and still be doing something. And so for me, like taking, like there's nothing wrong with taking whatever an afternoon to sit there and like go to the beach and draw. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Like do that. You know, like before I'd probably sit there and be like, I can't do that. Like, oh my God, I've got to like send this email, and like I've got to do this and this and this, and I got to call this person, and like that's how my brain works. But like I've really learned to like take a step back and just like allow myself to like be, which has made me probably just a lot more fruitful of a person in general.
You're also like, because I'm that way too. I'm always thinking about my career. I'm always thinking about the next thing, the email, like you said. But like the pandemic helped me like figure out that you also like with all the people also like you gotta live. You got one life to live.
You got one, exactly. And that's what I've really been forced to just be like, it is every day at a time. That is all we have. And you know, I don't know. I feel like there's so many other distractions like in the world like before, and like obviously those I would love for like a lot of those to come back, but it still is like really nice to be able to just like learn how to like be at peace with like what you currently have, and instead of just like overthinking it, just like doing something, like being a little bit more impulsive, honestly. Like I feel like rather than like overthinking everything.
Yeah.
Like, should I do this?
That's awesome. Now, so our game is, it's called the Feel Good Game. What's your feel good movie? Something you watch and it makes you feel good.
Ooh.
Nothing stays buried forever, especially not the past.
Yesterday is Not Yet Gone, a mystery novel by Gabriel Veiga, host of the Very Creative Podcast. Available now, paperback and digital. GabrielVeiga.com. Buy it now.
What's your feel good movie? Something you watch and it makes you feel good.
Ooh. Feel good movie. Oh, probably School of Rock.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's an awesome movie. Do you like musicals?
Do I like musicals, like I said?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not like a huge theater person, but like I don't like not like them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I never was like a theater kid, I guess. Like no disrespect. If I could, I would freaking like star as Sandy in Grease. So you know,
you could.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know like a ton of musicals, I guess.
Yeah. What's your feel good TV show?
Feel good TV show. Oh, there's a lot. I feel like it's funny because like I feel like I'm one of those people like I love TV, but I also hate it at the same time because once again I feel like I should be like doing something more. So yeah, but feel good TV shows. I mean, like old ones or new ones?
Doesn't matter. Something that you put on and it makes you feel good. You're anxious.
Okay.
You just want to feel good.
You just want to feel good? I guess like The Office. I don't know. I mean, like I feel like I'm not much of like a repeat TV show watcher though. So okay, I changed my mind. I would say if I'm just like chilling out and like doing nothing and like just want to like turn something on, then probably like the cooking channel, like weirdly enough. Like I love to cook and it's just like
that's great,
on and it's like, okay, like that's cool. Like I don't know.
It's a good answer.
I'm a weird person.
Yeah. What about Feel Good album
Feel good album.
from start to finish?
Start to finish, feel good album. Once again, this is very unfair. Because, like,
So unfair.
there are like so many. So like obviously like my first choice is like Fleetwood Mac Rumors because duh. But then it's like, ooh, I don't know. I love like most recently I've been obsessed with like Harry Styles' new record.
Yeah.
So
That album is really
it's
great.
so good. Also, Glass Animals, their new record has been really good too. But yeah, I would say like I've got to go with the oldies. So yeah, Fleetwood Mac Rumors, because obviously, you know.
Yeah. I'm going to go listen to that after this.
Do it.
What's your feel good song?
Feel good song. Dancing in the Moonlight by Top Loader. Yes.
That's great.
Favorite song.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But also, I've got another one. Can I say another one?
Yeah.
You Get What You Give by the New Radicals.
Okay. Gonna go listen to that as well.
Do it.
Yeah. Awesome. Do you want to plug where can people find you? Where can people check out your music?
Yeah, so my music is everywhere on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, all the places, iTunes. You just search Chloé Caroline. I'll be right there. I have a website if people do that, chloecaroline.com. It's got like all my socials, but Instagram is at Chloé Caroline. Twitter is at I'm Chloé Caroline. TikTok's at I'm Chloé Caroline. Yeah, so definitely like slide in. I'll say hi.
Yeah.
You can text me. I have a number in my Instagram and my Twitter too. If it's a real number, then I will text you back. So yeah. Do
it, people, because like go listen to the music, because like it's like if you're gonna become a fan like me, that's for sure. Like it's great, and I don't say that lightly. Like I don't have anyone, like I don't have everyone on this podcast. You know, it's really it's gotta mean something to me, and your music means a lot to me. So
thank you. That means a lot to me to hear that, and I'm so grateful for your support and so thankful that you took the time to have me on here.
and I learned that you're half Canadian, so that's great.
Fun facts.
Yeah. All right. So thank you, Chloé Caroline, for coming on the Very Creative Podcast.
Of course.
And I'd love to have you back on so you can sing us something, and be great. Yeah. Awesome. All right.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
You've been listening to the Very Creative Podcast with Gabriel Veiga. To find out more, go to gabrielveiga.com/podcast or find us on social media at The Very Creative Podcast. You can also watch the podcast on YouTube. Just search for The Very Creative Podcast and subscribe.